Okay, shalom. Right, wonderful lesson. For YHWH is the God of gods and Master of masters. Right, we're going to do a deep dive into a particular verse in Torah. And I was inspired to do this after a previous teaching that I did on the King over Kings of Kings. Okay, so obviously the King over the Kings of Kings is not mentioned specifically within Torah, but this is a very similar concept that is, and it's for the Lord, or YHWH, your God, Elechem, is God of gods and the Lord of lords, the great, mighty and awesome God, who will show no favour, nor will he take a bribe. Okay, so we're just going to have a look at the total numbers that are involved in this verse, and this is extensive analysis just to look at the totals, the regular totals and the mispar gadol, the big numberings of this particular verse as a whole. I haven't even broken it down in it. Well, I have actually done analysis. We won't get through it in this lesson. I broke down the God of gods. And done a whole, I haven't even got to the end of it, and even the word Elohim. Big analysis. And so I ask you to subscribe, because I want to explore this, because we really need to start to make powerful distinctions between YHWH, your God, and this concept is the God of gods. Okay, so there is something that he rules and dominates over that presents itself as a God. We've got to know the difference between God and the God of gods, and Lord and the Lord of lords. So we've got to really start to explore. And in my lessons about Metatron and the whole concept within rabbinical Judaism, we don't hear about Metatron much within Christianity, but anybody who's started to delve into Enoch, books of Enoch and stuff like that, it will have come up, the concept of Metatron, and who he is. Well, he's second in command, and he is what we would call within the New Testament the Prince of the world. Okay, so and most people have been deceived into believing this slave who rules is YHWH himself. So we need to start to make those distinctions and try and sever our ties from serving in a Metatron, the slave master, and really start to attach through the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef and the revelation of the truth to YHWH. Okay, in truth. Right, so let's go look at this verse then. For the Lord your God is God of gods and the Lord of lords, and the great, mighty and awesome God, who will show no favour, nor will he take a bribe. So that's Deuteronomy 10:17. Comes to 2,530. I've put C over in context. 621, big number. That's 207 times 3. 207 is or. So straight away, or is light. So Yehi or, let there be light. So we can already, there's massive connections. That comes to together 3,159, which is 3 times 1,053. All these are going to be looked at. All the numbers highlighted will be looked at in some sort of sequence. And that is 27 times 117. Again, this is a big number that it comes up when we're talking about Revelation. When you analyse the Messianic texts in the Torah and the Tanakh, this is one of the numbers that comes up a lot. Okay, so we're going to have a deep dive down into that number, because it does come up a lot. And I will pull up all the times where, during my analysis of Messianic texts, or texts that have been very inspired to analyse, because the sages have indicated that these are important texts, or the Zohar has indicated these important texts. This number has come up in many, many different Messianic texts and revelations. Okay, so we'll have a look at all this. It's all glorious from start to finish. These numbers are wonderful. So straight away, look at that. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faith. Right? So it's obviously not the complete statement, but that, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faith. When I first started my analysis into all these Messianic texts, I literally used to go by word, and add them all up, because I definitely had a lot of doubts regarding Moshiach Ben Yeshua, a lot. So I was looking at the key text, and I thought, I don't want to miss anything. So I did it word by word, and I built up the entire verse literally word by word. And so sometimes in the older teachings, I don't do it anymore because I got the information that I needed and I don't need to go through word by word now. I more or less break down there's usually 3 parts to a verse, and that's what I usually break it down into. And then with inspiration, I'll look at the words that I know are very significant in terms of revelation. But this is how I used to do it. So, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins and faith. So a lot of my older analysis, going back right to the very beginning, includes specific sections of verses that you can see have been built up word by word. And I got a lot out of that. It was very, very essential analysis for me. It was definitely part of my journey. But like I say, you do progress once you have overcome some of the major doubts. And the reasoning behind it was, I thought to myself, I want to make sure for definite that the Torah and the Tanakh and all the sages prove and confirm that Yeshua is the Mashiach, because I had a lot of doubts regarding this, and I thought to myself, I didn't want to cherry pick. I wanted to make sure I had scrutinized it word by word, and if anything to the contrary of Yeshua is not the Mashiach was revealed, I would be finding it. So I mean, I wanted my doubts to be confirmed, not made not increased, but I was very strategic, because I thought, I am not going to be fooled if there's something contrary to the assumption that the Torah is revealing Yeshua is the Mashiach. I'm going to be finding it. So that's why I broke it down. But once you get the overwhelming confirmation within all the messianic texts and the Talmud and the writings of the sages that Yeshua is the Mashiach, you don't need to employ the same. You don't need to employ the same. Scrutiny. Because you've got to a stage where you've exhausted that level, and there's nothing appearing contrary. There's nothing at all in any of the messianic texts that would suggest in any way whatsoever that Yeshua is not the Mashiach. Nowhere. Zilch. It just doesn't exist. If you are honest and truthful and come at that with an open heart and allow those words to speak to you when you deep dive into it, there is only one revelation to be found within the Torah and the Tanakh and all the writings of the sages, and it's confirming again and again and again and again and again, without limit, without end, 100% all of the time, no matter how you scrutinize that text, Yeshua is the Mashiach. Okay, so I wanted to stress that. Because it's important, because basically this here, look, as we can see, is a filling out of Yeshua. Wherever you look, he is there. He is there within the Torah, in all the key messianic texts, and there's nobody else that's there. Okay, so let's just get that one cleared up. So, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins and faith. 1053. So we can see that this is powerfully linked up to this verse, and we can also see 1053 is 9 times 117, and 117 is Yeshua. Like I say, we're going to go and have a look at, we're going to do a deep dive into that number because it's come up so many times in so many different scenarios. All the messianic texts, by the way, will point to one filling out of Yeshua one way or another. The 1053 plus 216, which is Gabriel, Angel Gabriel. This is exactly the same gematria as Gabriel, and that, I think that's right. it could be Gevurah, 1269, and that equals 3 times 423. Okay, so 423 plus a Kalel equals 424, which is Moshiach Ben David. Okay, so there is a connection there, and obviously this is connected up here in more than one way, isn't it? Just let me just check the numbers for that, because sometimes I include okay, right, I've corrected this Gevurah, and then this here is 2 times 1269 equals 2538. Okay, so we've got that link. In this particular case, we've got the link to the overall total, the regular overall total, the regular and the ordinal, and then we've also got a link to the actual regular. So, I mean, there's a big connection between that and this is a messianic prophecy regarding the Moshiach. Okay, so we can start to see who is the, YHWH is the God of gods and the Lord of lords, and the concept of the Moshiach and Metatron somehow fit into who YHWH is ultimately over. We will get to that. We will start to tie that in and see. So obviously the concept of the Moshiach is very much connected to this. And who is the Moshiach that's very much connected to this? Well, all the Mashiachim are, but in this instance, very clearly Yeshua. Okay, so let's go on. Right, not only that then. So we've got the concept of Yeshu. This is Yeshu filled. This is the name of Moshiach Ben Moshiach Ben Yosef, suffering with us in exile. Okay, so whilst he's in exile suffering, the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef, I've said this before, we've got something in place of him, and that whole system is the system of Metatron. Okay. Until the truth is revealed regarding Moshiach Ben Yosef, we have Metatron, the slave who rules. This is the true king. Moshiach Ben Yosef, Moshiach Ben David and Moshe, they're the kings, the Mashiachim, that need to unite together. And ultimately, when when Moshiach Ben David returns, when the soul of Mashiach is incarnated again, and he will incarnate at the level of Moshiach Ben David and be the king and the good shepherd over the entire of humanity, okay, then we'll have the system of the Mashiach. We will have the system of the Mashiach, and Metatron will be replaced. So we've got to understand we're in a transition. We're in a transitional period until Mashiach Ben Yosef is fully revealed, and he's not at this time in this world, especially to the Jewish brothers and sisters. And the whole concept of Jesus is so distorted in exile within Christianity and within Islam. We need to restore. Yosef. We need to have a clear and truthful understanding about Yosef. Okay, and all that YHWH, who is the Lord of Lords and the God of Gods, has been doing through Moshiach Ben Yosef descended into exile with his own suffering, and then having to put the slave to rule, the prince of the world, in his stead, while he's in like an underground hidden where he's going into hiding within this exile in order to accomplish everything YHWH planned to be accomplished through Moshiach Ben Yosef. What is getting accomplished, by the way? What do we actually think is being accomplished ultimately? Well, ultimately it relates back to the Yechidah, the highest level of soul, because Moshiach Ben Yosef is the Yechidah of YHWH. So Adam, before he fell, there's 5 levels of soul to man, and Adam had already attained for Chaya. He hadn't yet attained the Yechidah because he'd never had a Shabbat. He sinned on Erev Shabbat, just before Shabbat. So man fell before he'd attained his true perfection, which would have been a revelation of his soul level of Yechidah. So somehow you've got to understand that this imperfect state of Adam that then fell a whole lot worse, a whole lot of more levels. It was at a very, very ultra exalted level of soul that we can't comprehend. I mean, he wasn't like a man in the form of what we understand a man to be. I mean, it was a supernatural, you know, the entire of humanity is contained within him. Okay, so obviously the last Adam will be Moshiach, fully rectified, including the Yechidah. So what does exile do then? And what is YHWH doing in exile? Through Yeshu, this whole concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef is repairing the damage to the Yechidah. He is, you know, we are preparing the whole of humanity to receive that soul level called Yechidah, and we're all a part of it, because Yechidah is the aspect of our soul where the entire of humanity is one. You know, it's the level of soul that unites all humanity together as one. So obviously, concepts like one new man, you're talking about the last Adam, where the entire of humanity, we all fell in Adam. We will all be raised up in Moshiach. And we will, when we are finally raised up with everything YHWH has been doing to correct that soul level, Yechidah, that Adam in the Garden of Eden never attained. But somehow this whole process is a part of that. I hope you can understand, Moshiach Ben Yosef is the Yechidah level that Adam never attained. But it's all happening in a very secret way, isn't it? Because in exile, humanity all has one new man. When you look at all the doctrines of these religions of men, there is nothing but elitism and separation. There is nothing but division. And yet in this realm, in this reality that we all subject to, this exile where there's nothing but separation because our egos are so inflamed by all the lies and the delusion of exile and all the religious lies and delusion that would seek to exalt us above every other human being, like we are super righteous and stuff like that. Hidden in all that arrogance and pride, YHWH is actually perfecting the entire of humanity through the soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef, the Yechidah. It's the same thing. The soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef is the aspect of Moshiach. It's the highest level of the soul of the last Adam. You know, Adam fell before he attained the Yechidah. So in this state, Yeshua went down into the exile itself, the arrogance and the pride and the evil inclination and death, everything that prevents humanity from uniting as one. He's gone down into it to conquer it. And the soul of his Yechidah will shine through all these layers of separation and impurity and lies and delusion. Eventually, his soul will shine through. And what does that mean for all of us? That light of unity, that level of soul that unites all humanity as one new man. This is what we are experiencing. So this is the way that YHWH in his infinite wisdom is repairing Adam through the concept of Mashiach, which is the final Adam. And when we get Moshiach Ben David here on earth, when he is incarnate, he will incarnate because this particular soul level will be fully rectified. Because he is, even though we will not need to dwell, that will not be the dominant soul level. We will be, through Moshiach Ben David, the dominant soul level is the soul level below, Chaya, mother of all living. You know, where at the level of Yechidah, there's absolutely no separation between YHWH and the soul of the Mashiach at that level of Yechidah. They are perfectly one. It's the level of Keter where there's no separation. There's only godliness, absolute perfection. So there's no separation. We won't be living at that level because we will have accomplished everything we need to do to unite humanity. and we will live at the level that's just below that, the level of King David, which is Chaya, the mother of all living, where all humanity will be united. We will all know, we will all be aware of that soul level of Yechidah, but it won't be the dominant one. Why? Because we will still be able to express ourselves as individuals. And at the level of Yechidah, there is no individuality, there's just complete, total godliness and unity. But we will have had to attain that, okay, and perfect it nonetheless, because this is the correction of Adam. This is what Adam never attained. But that will not be the dominant soul level. That is the dominant soul level of Moshiach Ben Yosef. But the purpose of Moshiach Ben Yosef is to be the throne upon which Moshiach Ben David sits. So we've got to understand exactly what is going on in this time of exile and be very clear what is YHWH doing and what systems has he been accomplishing that through. And he's been doing it through the erasing of the soul of Moshiach Ben, he's basically hid the soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef in this exile, which is the Yechidah, which is the tip of the Yud of his name, YHWH, incarnate. He was incarnate, and now the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef is massive. He did incarnate in the life of Yeshua. The soul level, the dominant soul level of Yeshua was the Yechidah of the name YHWH. It was absolutely incarnate in his life. But then, like you've got Metatron, for example, Enoch walked with God and then he was no more. And according to the tradition, Enoch became Metatron, who is second in command of God, second under God. That is only when Moshiach Ben Yosef is in exile, however. Okay, I've pointed this out before. So we know that there's this incredible transformation that a human that once incarnated can suddenly become this meta-archangel. And this is what has actually happened to Moshiach Ben Yosef. Okay, Moshiach Ben Yosef, like Enoch walked with God and then he became Metatron, and Metatron now is the slave who rules. Moshiach Ben Yosef, who is the true king, is part of he is the soul of the Mashiach. He should be the actual king that is ruling, and YHWH is the king over kings. He should be the king over Mashiach, but he's not, because Mashiach has had to descend into exile in order to perfect the soul level of Yechidah for all humanity. Okay, I think I've missed a little bit. I was probably going to say something else, but we've got to be understanding the processes of what's going on, because only the truth will reveal the absolute sovereignty of YHWH. The glorious perfection of YHWH, but like I say, this correcting of this soul level of Yechidah has gone into hiding. It's all done in a very, very secret way, and we can only know now because we are right at the end. We're right before that, the revelation. So all this correcting and all this suffering of Moshiach Ben Yosef in exile. All right, that's where we're going. So Moshiach Ben Yosef, okay, yes, he walked on this earth as a man. The soul level of Moshiach Ben Yosef, the Yechidah of YHWH, was incarnate at this time. But now, there's been a transformation. He is the true meta-archangel. He is second in command to YHWH. But at this time, this is all hidden. We've got Metatron there instead, pretending to be, the second in command, if you like, and because that's what's revealed, and Moshiach Ben Yosef is what is hidden. And it's all been done in a very, very hidden and humbling way. God has humbled himself greatly, because when he sent the soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef into exile, that is like sending himself. That is, it's so, the soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef and which represents his name, YHWH's name. At the level of Yechidah, there is no separation whatsoever between YHWH and his name. They are one. So you've got to understand, ultimately, it's actually YHWH himself through the soul of Moshiach, which he is Moshiach Ben Yosef, which he is totally and utter one with. He has come into this exile through him to suffer with us until we ourselves are perfected. And this is when I've gone on in previous lessons, you know, we have got our own righteousness and we have earned that righteousness, but we have also, YHWH has helped to perfect us. We are co-creators, not creators. We've got to always make that distinction. Our righteousness is as filthy rags compared to the righteousness of YHWH, what he has accomplished for us in our lives. But it doesn't mean to say that in his eyes, our righteousness is very, very, very precious, but compared to his righteousness, filthy rags. And compared to, you know, like what is accomplished through Moshiach Ben Yosef. So we've got to make the distinction as well between the incarnation of this particular light, this particular soul level, and then this transformation that occurred, like the massive transformation, Enoch suddenly becoming a meta-archangel. This is a similar thing that's actually happened to Moshiach Ben Yosef. So when we're talking about Moshiach Ben Yosef, this meta-archangel, as much as it's connected to Yeshua, who came and walked on this earth as a Jewish man that observed the Torah and everything like that, you've got to understand that whilst in exile, it's a very, very vast, infinite, almost infinite. It isn't infinite because it's part of creation, so but it's one with the infinite. In this exile, perfecting the entire of humanity to attain that status back up in Gan Eden. I hope I've explained myself clearly enough. I might have to do another teaching on that, but you've got to understand we're talking big things. And in each of our lives we've been touched. Like I literally have been touched by the soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef. The Yechidah of the name YHWH has woken me up and touched my life. Okay, how revealed that is in my life, well, I wish it were more revealed. I wish it were more revealed. I'm trying to do whatever it takes to remove the obstacles in my life and the impurities in my life that would suppress that light, and try to get the light to shine as much as possible, but it's a reality. See, the light of the name YHWH through the soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef has touched my life. Now, I know that was Yeshua was the incarnation of that. But what touched me in exile is far greater even than the man that once walked on this earth. There's something far greater than that at work. Yeshua has been transformed into something, you know, that we can't fully comprehend. It's a vast, vast, vast system of perfection that YHWH is employed in order to bring the entire of humanity to their ultimate perfection and unite us, and then after that process to reveal the ultimate King of Kings, Moshiach Ben David. And Moshiach Ben David, like I said, the throne he sits on is all that has been accomplished through Moshiach Ben Yosef. We're talking about vast, 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 vast concepts, but you know, God always has a big version and a little version. We are the little versions. So each and every one of us is a microcosm of a macrocosm, you know. And Yeshua, who walked on this earth and showed us and taught us or whatever, we never met him. I never met him face to face. But something of, because he was little, he came incarnate. That's the little version of him. But then now I've experienced the big version of him. But I await the day when Moshiach Ben David is incarnate, and I hope to meet him. You know, because I really hope to meet him face to face, because I've been touched by the vast, vast, vast concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef. But I would like to see him incarnate and see him face to face in the life of Moshiach Ben David. I would like to have the opportunity to say thank you face to face. And sometimes, in a way, Mother Teresa said something really important. It touched my heart a lot, and it's true. Okay. Okay, I just got distracted then by my children's phone going off. I've kind of got distracted now, but I hope you were following the thread of what I was saying. You know, I really would like to meet face to face. Oh no, that was it. I've remembered Mother Teresa. Okay, so Mother Teresa, she once said this incredible thing. I mean, I'm not I'm not even going to say it, but Mother Teresa said this one thing. She was in the house of the dying, and she used to take the absolute lowest of the low, these what were called untouchable people off the street of Calcutta, and bring them into the house of the dying. They literally were so ill, the only hope they had was to die, but she determined they were going to die in dignity. And this was the whole enterprise that she had in Calcutta in India, the house of the dying it was called. And she once said this statement, and she said, I've seen the face of Yeshua, Jesus, many times, and she said, and sometimes he's very distressed. And that to me, it's the epitome of what Moshiach Ben Yosef is in this world at this time, suffering with us. And you know, we want to see Moshiach face to face. Okay, let me tell you, he's closer than you think at times. You know, when you walk past those beggars on the street, if you have eyes to see, you will see the very soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef himself. You know, and it's you know, we are so blinded by our egos. We are in the depth of exile to such a degree that we cannot even see the glory that's before us. You know, she was a woman that could, and she could see him in the lowest of the lowest, most humble situations that any human could ever be subject to. But she was able to see the King of Kings himself face to face on a daily basis, and she did everything she could to help him in this place of suffering. And it's just like Yeshua said, you know, what you do for the least of these, my brethren, you do for me. And this is something we should be more and more aware of, because that is, if we could only see who is before us, this is what unites humanity together. You know, if we could see and perceive the humanity, the glory that is before us, and the opportunity that we have to alleviate the suffering of the Moshiach himself just by showing kindness and love and dignity to the people that surround us in this world at this time. You know, it would open our eyes to see more and more and more of the glory of YHWH revealed in this world. You know, and it would bring about unity and love and peace. And we are fulfilling every single possible command that YHWH has given to us when we show love and kindness and dignity and respect and compassion and mercy and grace to those people especially who it would appear are without hope otherwise. So we've got to try and understand that this is the world that YHWH, this is the way YHWH has chosen to work. And it's a glorious way that gives us an opportunity to serve the King over kings of kings, the King of kings, and ultimately the King over kings of kings, in a wonderful way, if only we have eyes to see. And if we are not seeing that, you can guarantee our service to YHWH will be do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this, this is holy, this is not good. We will have something other than the King. We will be serving something other than the King. We will be serving Metatron, because he's full of rules. He's a slave that is ruling, and a slave can only teach you to be a slave. And we have to see what is hidden in this world. And being connected to the soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef helps us to see beyond the hiddenness of this world and into the truth of what YHWH is doing. And when we are doing that, we are serving YHWH in truth. We are bringing glory to his name in ways nobody else, they might think we fools because they're so self-righteous, serving Metatron, who's the slave that's ruling. They're so filled with arrogance and with pride as a result that they actually look down on you for doing the humbling work in this world of serving the true King over kings, Yeshua HaMashiach, who is suffering in exile with us. And when he's suffering, like it says, at the level of Yechidah, YHWH and the Yechidah are one. There's no separation at all. You serve him, you serve YHWH in truth, exactly as he would require us to serve one another and serve him through doing so. So it's all wonderful, you know. When I say about the good works that the Christians have been doing, I've mentioned this a lot. We have to petition for what Yosef has done in exile. Why? Because there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Christians in this world that have seen beyond the veil of this world into the hidden world of YHWH, and they have done everything within their power, their whole soul, their whole hearts and their whole strength to bring about bring kindness and dignity and respect and love to those people in this world that would have no hope other than they serve in that capacity. So when we're saying about petitioning, I've talked about it before, you know, Moshe, when he was raising up the bones of Moshiach Ben Yosef, and it's for us to bring him out into revelation from concealment. We have to reveal him. You know, we have to bring that light to the surface with all our strength, just like the bones of Yosef needed to be brought out of Egypt. Moshe said, he said to Yosef, he said, petition YHWH with all the good that you have done. He basically advocate for all the good that has been done. You know, through you in exile, through you in Egypt, he was talking to Yosef. But in this case, you imagine the almost infinite number of acts of kindness that have been done when people's eyes have been opened and they see in their fellow man the soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef, Yeshua, Jesus himself. And they want to do everything they can to strengthen and encourage and show kindness and clothe the naked and visit the prisoner and, you know, give food to the hungry and heal the sick. And all these wonderful ways in which people have been instructed through the teachings of Yeshua to do that. This is the good works that we now need to petition YHWH for, because the Jewish people have been doing good works according to the name as revealed within the Torah of Moshe. But a lot of Christians, I can't say all Christians, because we have fallen into the depths of exile and we are far removed from the truth that was revealed to us in a lot of ways. It's descended into demonic realms, you know, Edomite demonic realms, so we fall short, but it does not mean that that has not been accomplished in this world, because it has. It's real. It really has happened in this world through a lot of Christians. Yeah, they've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and there's a lot of people that have called themselves Christians and they're not Christians, they're Amalekites. Amalekites get dressed up. We're told this in Midrash, to fool you. You know, the Amalekites, it said in the Midrash, got dressed up to fool the children of Israel into thinking they were Cushites. This is part of the Midrash. The Amalekites get dressed up as Christians to fool to fool the Jewish people into believing, or Bnei Israel into believing that they are Christians. They're not. The Nazis were professing Christians. Some of them, they're not Christians. The Amalekites dressed up. Got to see the truth. I mean, I can't deny that wicked things have not been done in the name of Yeshua, but it's not true Christians that have been doing that wickedness. You got to know the difference. True Christians have been serving, doing acts of kindness and couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. You have no heart to cause another human being suffering. Your heart is circumcised and humbled. You have a love for humanity, not a hate. So we've got to be able to understand the difference and petition for those people who have been acting in accordance to the light that's revealed to them. Right, let's go on then. Wahanachash and the serpent. 360